Hey guys, welcome to the I Try to Be Straight podcast with Susie and Nate. If you are wondering what the heck this podcast is about, we created this community to share stories of gay people who have come out through the church, deconstructed their faith, or maybe they've stayed in their faith. But either way, we are sharing stories, we are sharing what we're learning along the way.
I was a gay pastor's kid. I didn't come out till I was 30, had my first kiss around then. And Susie in her late 20s. We both had a pretty rough journey in the church and had a pretty big struggle with our sexuality until we finally came to this point of realizing we needed to come out and sort through all this. We're really excited to be in New York for a very special episode. We are interviewing Jonathan Kirby, and we're stoked to be here. So come join us in this episode, and welcome to the I Try to Be Straight podcast.
It's coming along. I want to put curtains on these windows, but not on this side. These are all west facing, and so we have great views of the sunset. And I want this to kind of be like natural shade. But yeah, if you like look out the window, you can see like parts of Manhattan, like the building that's like way off in the distance. That's like the Jenga building, and so that's in like Fidei. And then like if you look this way, you can't really see, but like you can see some of the Manhattan skyscrapers because Manhattan runs like this way.
Yeah.
So we're kind of at an angle, but like you can see like some of the skyscrapers that are around Central Park over there. And then a lot of it like filming, like I film all my videos right there. You can see the little print.
We literally were watching your videos, we're like, why is his lighting so fucking
I know, right? That was like criteria number one. We were like, we wanted natural light so that I could film. We wanted a lot of light and space.
Wait, is this your full-time or do you have a day job?
It is as of September. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's new. It's so new. I left like my whole career behind and just.
Oh my gosh. What was it?
I was the client services director for a healthcare tech company.
That's like.
I know. It was like an adult job too. I was like, oh.
So was it like you had to like code switch from like Jonathan to like straight like sales type guy?
Like I think it's interesting. I think that there's like having like a Midwest territory, you never know like how people feel. So I definitely would like, I don't know if I would like tone it down at all, but just like be more direct. I don't know. Like I feel like it's obvious. So like most people probably like, I don't know, my clients probably didn't care that much. It's fun work because I like talking to people and I like made a career out of talking to people. But it just started to get in the way of like things I really liked, and I found that like I was away from New York more than I wanted to be, and like I put on all the work and effort to get here and wanted to live here, and I just felt like I wasn't here very much. My time is my most valuable asset, and at this point I'm losing out on like financially or just like mental health wise by going on these work trips where I don't want to be. It was a Monday in August, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I just quit the next day. There's like so many reasons not to do something, and like I like wanted to make content for like 6 months before I actually started, and I like tried a couple times, but like it's just like the build up in your head. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, and then I just started one day and it worked. Fake it till you make it at first, but like I really just like stopped caring what people thought in pretty much every aspect of my life, and that was like a big part of it. I was like, I don't care if people from high school see my videos, like. And now it's something that is my job. So it's cool. Like I think again, it's just convincing yourself that you can do it. And like, I think we convince ourselves that we can't do it. And when we kind of move past that and we're like, we're the only reason why we're not doing it, do it. And then it might stick.
There's this like idea that I've been wrestling with, which is like, I've been so worried about what other people think about me that I stopped thinking and being worried about what I think about myself.
I think I spent a lot of my life hating, I spent a lot of my life hating myself, and a lot of that was religious trauma that I had carried over. It all kind of started during COVID, and like, I just kind of had like a few things happen in my life, and it was just like reset button. I was really unhappy, and then I realized that like I have the power to control my happiness and to change my situation, to at least set, like, you may not get to your end goal right away, but at least, you know, if I was trying to find the path forward that gets me closer to where I want to be. And for me at the time, it was getting out of my hometown and making some new friends. Leading up until COVID, I was very involved in the church. All of my friends in my hometown were affiliated with my church or a church in town, and I just I think that a lot of my mental health challenges back then were from that situation. I hated my job, hated my life, didn't really have any support system, and it kind of built up. I like knew that I wanted more out of life. It was like both like a life dream, sexuality aside. And I just knew that I was bigger than like my situation in my hometown. And then like once I accepted and started loving myself and just choosing to be happy, even in the beginning, if you have to fake it till you make it. But I got my degree in marketing and sales, and I went into social media right away. I got my first job out of college at O'Reilly Auto Parts, if you're familiar.
Yes,
and I ran social media there, like as a 23-year-old. And
I bet it was the best O'Reilly.
It was,
social media.
Super aesthetic.
It was like honestly so fun, and but it was so early. Like social media wasn't like what it is today, and it wasn't the force that it is today. For a few years leading up to COVID, I was working in marketing at this accounting firm, and COVID happened, and that was the reset button. I really, until COVID, I had felt it so easy to just fill my time with things or activities, career, trying to like get that next promotion or that next job, and trying to work my way up, because that's the only thing I knew to like distract myself. And even at times maybe I didn't know it was a distraction. I was just trying to like find things to do because I was like just not happy. And so being forced to go home and work from home, and just like you have limited social interaction, whatever, like it forced me to deal with myself. Like at this point in time, like there was no like in-person church, or just like I really just like had to be by myself in my thoughts for like days at a time. And so it really just like all like boiled up, and I just realized how miserable I was. And I think that in the beginning, I thought it was just because of the pandemic, like, oh, like this sucks. Like it wasn't the pandemic that was making me like super depressed and unhappy. It was just the fact that I was like miserable and like closeted, and I couldn't do anything. And so fast forward a little bit, like June of 2020, I got into a cycling wreck, and this was like my like one close to death experience I've ever had. I broke both of my arms and flipped over my handlebars. I hit like a blind curve going downhill at 40 miles an hour.
Oh, 40? Bro.
And I went head first into the ditch.
You're lucky you're not dead.
I know. I cracked my helmet. And it's really not funny. I don't know why I'm smiling, but I know it makes me nervous. I know. So I like hit head first, and I hit like the ditch, and it was like full of those like drainage ditch rocks, the big ones.
You're like in a ditch, like cement rocks.
Yeah, like really, like quite literally hit rock. I like used Siri to call 911. It's funny how your body just like goes into like survival mode, and for me, I knew I had a concussion because I hit my head so hard. Like I saw blood immediately when I hit, and then I could see the drops like cross my eyeball, but I knew like if I looked too much at like my knees or like other gashes that I would probably pass out. And I know like I'm not a medical professional, but I knew like you're supposed to stay conscious when you have a concussion. I don't know if any of this is like medically accurate or not, but
sounds good to me.
I was like, I'm gonna have to stay conscious, and like I need to calm down. So I just laid back and just took deep breaths, waited for the ambulance to come, and then they came. And it was then when they like tried to pull me up by my arms, I realized they were broken because it didn't work too well.
They tried to pull you up by your arms? Oh.
I know. And so we, like, they got me up, they kind of like hoisted me up with my back, and my biggest gash was on my back, which I didn't even know at the time. But we like hobbled over to the ambulance, and they were like, we'll just check you out. We're like, he jokingly was like, we won't charge you if we don't take you anywhere. And I was like, great. Perfect. And I like looked down, and I like knew my arms were broken. And so I went, he was like, will you just let us take you in? And I was like, sounds good. Sounds good. And I was in complete shock. Like I was in no pain at all at first. And so, fast forward, so we get in the ambulance, we go to the emergency room. It's during COVID, I can't have a guest, so I'm like in the emergency room all night by myself. And then my parents picked me up. I had to go live with them for 6 weeks because I couldn't do anything for myself. Couldn't even feed myself the first week because I couldn't lift like a spoon, you know?
Oh my God.
So, but this was like, it was like in hindsight, like the reset I needed, like maybe not needed, maybe like there was a gentler way to have a life reset, but it was like, until this wreck, I like really didn't care if I was alive or not. And by going through this accident and not passing away, I like had this new appreciation for life that I didn't have before. And I was so glad that I was alive. That was the reset button because I have the power to be happy. I have the power to change my situation. And it's gonna have to just start now because I like can't keep living the way that I've been living. And so I was really strategic about it. I knew that like the thing I needed to do was get out of my setting. I needed to get out of my hometown. It's changed a lot. I've gone back to visit now. It's a lot more progressive. Like I think a lot can change in 5 years, you know, and there's I think a bigger queer community there. And I think it's not what it was when I knew it. And I probably also at the time wasn't making an effort to like be a part of the community. But I knew that I at the time that the best thing for me was to leave, and I didn't want to leave without a job first. So it took me about 10 months to find a job. I wanted to leave the state altogether. I didn't want to live in Missouri or Kansas. Any state really that touched Missouri. I wanted to get out of the Midwest, and I ended up in Kansas City. And I did not see it coming. I like had never gone on a date with a guy in my life, or even like kissed one. And so
wait, how old are you at this point?
20. I turned 25.
Okay.
25.
Yeah.
So I went on my first date with a man in like the summer of 2021. Gosh, this is gonna age
Same,
me.
honestly. No, summer 2021.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was 30. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think I went on like 3 dates the first week I lived in Kansas City. I was like so ready to put myself out there.
really
But
jumped in
the
there.
very first one, we were like at dinner, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, the waiter just knows that I'm on a date right now. And I'm so nervous about this. This is so awkward. Because it was like the first, like, it's like those butterflies that you always hear about, and then I would go on dates with girls and like not get them, and I didn't know why. Now I do. I know. Yeah,
so
you
bad.
try to force it, and like, I feel bad about that to this day. Like like thinking about the girls that like gave me their time to like go on a date, and I'm like, I feel awful, but
you're good company.
Yeah,
I mean,
good conversation, maybe a few laughs.
And you weren't rude. I'm sure they've been on worse dates.
Yes,
let's be honest.
for sure. I hope. That summer I came out to like a few of my close friends, like from back home, like 2 or 3, not a lot. After moving to Kansas City, anyone knew that I would meet, I wouldn't like say that I'm straight. I was just gay. Like, and it was the first time in my life that I like didn't deny it. I didn't have to like feel any certain way. That was the first time in my life that I saw like a group of people who are like so happy and so accepting and so kind. And until that point, I had never met someone who was like unconditionally accepting. Like everyone who I had known was more like maybe had some prejudices or like homophobic thoughts or feelings. And so it was nice to be around people who really just didn't care what you wanted to be. And that was so nice. It gave me the freedom to like find myself, and that was key, and to then find confidence in myself. And through this friend group, I went from just like you come out to yourself. That's the first step, right? And that's hard. That took me 26 years to do. And then to go from accepting yourself to then being to a point where you're so proud of who you are that you wouldn't change your situation if you could. And I accomplished that through this friend group. I got to the point where it's like, if I could choose to be straight, I wouldn't at this point, because I'm so happy about who I am and the life that I have, and these friends and the community that I've built. So like, I was out to a few close friends in my like friend group in Kansas City, and like people in my life in Kansas City, but wasn't like openly out.
How did it land? Because I was stalking you, obviously. And I was looking back at your posts and reading some TikToks, and you have some girls in there being like, oh my gosh, you're so hot. Like, how did that land for you? Really?
I know that it's really I would get comments like, does anyone know like which way he swings, or is he for both, or like what's going on? And I've never talked much on my channel, more so I do now.
I was curious, you mentioned how afraid you were to come out. You know, it took something really big to make you actually do it, the accident. What was the reason behind that fear? Was it religion? Was it culture? Was it family?
Yeah, I think it was a little of everything. I think like growing up religious, like moving forward without like the world I had seemed so strange. All of my friends for the most part were like a part of the church. I had a lot of religious trauma. I tried several times growing up to go to like church elders for help. And the only advice I would ever get is like, lean into the Bible or like spend time in prayer when you're feeling that way, which is, I'm not invalidating that. I think there's a time and place for all of that, especially if that's what you believe. And I also don't want to paint this broad stroke that everyone who is like religious is like homophobic, because I haven't found that to be true either.
Yeah.
But the community that I grew up in, it was like very hard to navigate, and like I couldn't get any answers. There wasn't a solution for me. I was never like pointed toward conversion therapy or anything, which I'm thankful for, but there wasn't an answer, and I just got sick of not having answers. When you're 23, like it's been 10 years of like these thoughts that you've been having, and it's like, I've been suppressing this for so long, what do I do? And like, I've been trying for 10 years to get an answer, and I keep getting, every person I go to, I keep getting the same answer. Pray about it. You'll find a wife who understands. Like, read your Bible. Like, the Bible says what it says, and God will help you if it says what it says. And I just, like, I'm like, it's not going away. Like, I go to prayer service every Wednesday. I go every Sunday to the main service. Like, I'm in a small group that's on Sunday nights. I'm like doing everything. I'm volunteering through the week. I'm at church 4 or 5 times a week trying to like dig in deep, because that's the only thing anyone can tell me to do, and it's not working. And I'm just more miserable because I just hate myself even more. My best friends I've ever made in the world are like people who I've met outside of church, you know? Yeah. So like, again, not a broad statement for everyone, but like some of the most judgmental people that I had met in my life were people I met through the church. And so that's why it was really hard to like come to terms with it yourself, really, or just like accept it for yourself, because it's just so much easier to put it in your back pocket, not think about it, check all the boxes, go to church, do all these things, surround yourself with the right people, and like hope that it goes away. And it just never would. And mainly because I didn't want to, not because I was hiding anything, but I didn't want anyone in my family to find out without me telling them. Right. And so I felt like at the very least they deserved to hear it from me, even though I didn't know how to do it. Yeah. And so I was just very careful about being public about it for that reason. Yeah. And then it builds up so long, and you're just like, I need to like tell my parents. Everyone's journey is different, and it takes time. And for some people, maybe they don't feel that way ever. That's fine. Or maybe some people are like not part of their family, like that's fine too. But for me, it had built up, and I just like got to the point where being at like any sort of family function, I just got so tired of faking it. I was like, it was always like, I'm just not being truthful to these people. And at the very least, they should know. And I think if someone in this situation is going to be unhappy, it's not going to be me. Yeah. Like, I'll choose my happiness. And if anyone has a problem with that, then they can be unhappy. And then that's their decision to be unhappy. And so I took that mindset. I came out to my family January of last year. And it's been like an interesting journey to navigate. I don't have any family members that I know of who are gay, and especially like older family members. And so it's a lot more challenging, I think, when you're the first and you have to trailblaze, and like people will come after you know, Absolutely. Generations to come, and you just have to kind of be that beacon for those people. And so I was willing to take that chance and be that person. But I also, like, I can't fault anyone really for like having a strong reaction to it, because like a lot of times your family has like this idea of your life, and like they're waiting for good things for you. They want what's best for you, but it's not what they envisioned it to be. That was challenging. It also took me 26 years basically to come to terms with myself. And so if it takes family anywhere near that amount of time, I get it. Like, it's how it works sometimes. But all we can do is love our neighbor, you know, like that's the only code that I really try to live by. I have the ability and the power to choose what conversations I want to be part of and which ones I don't. And that's been wonderful. I don't feel obligated to be a part of any conversation that I don't feel comfortable. So once my family knew, I felt empowered to then publicly be open about who I am. And it's something that I wanted to do. I was apprehensive for a while about how to do it, because in my mind, I didn't want to be, reduced is probably not the best word, but I felt that if I came out publicly, especially after creating this like community online that's primarily just men's fashion, I was a little apprehensive because I didn't want to be reduced to my sexuality.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be just like Jonathan, oh, he's gay.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Jonathan, lives in Kansas City, loves to be outside, loves to travel, has cool outfits. Like there's all these things about me that I wanted to be identified as, and I didn't want sexuality to be like number one on the list. It's just, that is just one fact about me, you know? Mm-hmm. So I tried to be delicate about how I approached it. My coming out post, it was literally posted a photo of myself and just had the word proud and like the pride flag. And that was very my style. Like I'm not the big, huge post explaining my life story situation. I've always wanted to share my life story, but like in the appropriate setting, you know? And it took time. Like I've gotten like an overwhelming amount of DMs from people who are like in places where they're not supported or their family is not supportive. And like they through me like can see you can be happy in spite of that. You can have a wonderful life in spite of that, and it's about realizing that and just like choosing to be happy and choosing yourself and your wellness. But I think I just hoped that people would be progressive enough to understand like when I did come out, and like those who didn't, like bye. Like it's just like at the end of the day, it doesn't like I don't need anyone on my channel anyway who's not really supportive.
Absolutely.
But
It can't be you're fully yourself. What's the point of making content?
Yes, exactly.
Is there anything that you feel like you've learned more about yourself now that you've come out?
Lots of things. It's very much at times it feels like starting over in a lot of ways, but like in like stupid ways too. Like sometimes I'm just like, this is where it comes back to grace and having grace for yourself. This is also about like doing stupid things and like having grace for yourself. Like I think you just have to like accept that you're going to make mistakes and just like you're just trying to figure it out. And like especially with dating, like half the time I don't know what I'm doing, and I'll talk to like my best friend Carson about it. And she's like, okay, you're at like about age 17 and you're dating right now.
Right?
I'm like, how do I respond to this text from this guy? I know. I was like freaking out about it, or like getting a huge crush, and like an overwhelming crush at age 28.
Oh my god! Yes.
Why is that embarrassing?
It's so embarrassing.
I know.
I relate to Taylor Swift songs.
Yes,
she's like 18, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, why do those resonate more? I know everyone's like grown up with Taylor Swift, so they relate to her later stuff, and I'm stuck in like
stuck on rag.
I'm way back there. No, I like
all
that
too well, just over and over
me.
again.
It is so. It's like learning to do everything for the first time, but you're like double the age that most people are when they do these things for the first time. So like dating has been interesting to navigate, just like life in general, like answering to yourself and doing what makes you happy, like those things that have taken time to learn. It really is like evolving too. I feel like I just have grace with myself and know that I'll make mistakes and just try to make the most of it. But yeah, I'm constantly learning. I don't know anything really.
Well, it sounds like you just really leaned into believing in yourself, which is so, I think that's inspiring, because so many people do live in fear of, I think once you kind of put a part of yourself in the closet, how can not other parts also coexist in the closet too?
That's huge.
I think we think about sexuality as such a small thing, and I like do sometimes in the sense that I don't want it to be my full identity, but it is such a big part of our lives. And if you're putting that much of your life in a closed closet, tucked deep away with the key thrown out, like you're not being authentic with yourself really, and so how can you be authentic with other people? And I would struggle with that a lot, especially in the church. Like it just felt like a lot of like faking it till I made it, or just like I never had deep relationships with friends back in Springfield because I didn't, with the exception of a couple, because they weren't deep. Like I couldn't be honest with them about who I am, maybe because of their prejudice or whatever reason, or maybe I wasn't ready to talk about it, but I just didn't have like deep friendships. And then I did experience those for the first time after moving to Kansas City and coming out. And then the ones that I've held on to in my hometown are like deeper now, because we've like had those like conversations. They know who I really am. They're okay with it. I think after 25 years of living that way, I just was like, I can't do this for even 25 more. And I think like that's why I think a lot of people struggle with ending their life or what because there's not a easy or reasonable way out of the situation. Sometimes it's hard. Like it's so unfair for us to have to go through all of that in the first place just to like have a normal life. Like most people just like you meet someone at church, you get married, you have kids, and like done. And for us it's like no, we have to like sometimes fully uproot our lives and everything that we know and go down the path that's much more difficult just to find some sort of peace. And for me, peace was happiness. So getting out of my hometown is how I found it.
I feel like whenever we're living in a narrative, there's like a story that we're telling ourselves, and then we kind of put that narrative away and start living into. So what's like the message that you're living from?
Before, it was very much about me and like check all these things, do all these things right to be a Christian so I can go to heaven. Now it's more, I think I err on the side of like, love your neighbor, and that's the Jesus that I know and that I believed growing up. You know, that we may not have all the answers, we may not know anything, everything that's been taught to us could be wrong, like we don't really know, but if I'm unsure about anything, if I can just love my neighbor, then that's all I need to do. And so that's what I live by now. Like the golden rule, of course, treat others how you want to be treated, but just kindness and like loving your neighbor and showing that love to your neighbor. That's the only thing that I care to do in this world and leave behind.
I love that because you just exude this love and this energy of kindness towards yourself even. And the way that you treat your space, you're so intentional with it that where does that come from? Because there's a love that comes from it when you are able to nest and create a home that you love.
Pursuing peace is what I've always tried to do. If there's ever a big decision I have to make in life, I choose what is going to bring me peace. My home is a big part of that, where I live, where I spend my time, where I hang all of my clothes.
So why New York?
Why New York? I had always wanted to live in New York, even as a kid, and I always would, I think, escape to New York through like television or movies. And it just always felt like this like lofty, faraway place. Yeah, it's so fun living here. Like, I'll just run into people, like friends on the sidewalk, or like, it's like, it feels so small town sometimes. I'm like, how do I run into people that I know in New York? I think like your first year in New York is like the worst. They say like, make it your first year and make it to your second apartment, because like, you got to start somewhere. And then your first year, you're just adjusting to everything. Like, I had to like go to the laundromat and do my laundry. I didn't even know how to do that. Like when I first moved here, I think I almost had a mental breakdown when I was like a little minty bee, when I was like trying to do my laundry for the first time. And then like, I don't have a dishwasher, and like that was weird, you know? So like things like that, you just figure out. Yeah. Are y'all open? When did you have your first drink?
17.
Really? Okay.
17?
Ice hard lemonade. No, Smirnoff Ice.
Okay, so you were like rebellious. Okay.
Well, I worked at Starbucks, and
Okay.
my parents were always like super legalistic.
Yeah,
so
same.
I was always pushing. I knew they were too far. Like
Yeah.
no Pokemon, no Harry Potter.
Yeah, same.
So I'm like,
Same.
I don't think alcohol's that
Yeah,
big of a deal.
yeah.
So
Do you
I
have a
mean,
Pilsner on tap? I'll do that, yeah. Oh,
I'll do the
perfect.
same.
Sure.
Regular size or the extra large?
Right.
Regular is good. Cheers. Beers in Brooklyn.
Here's some Brooklyn.
That's good.
It's good.
Cheers.
What's dating like in New York?
Dating in New York. It's interesting to navigate, like, as someone who's like newer to dating.
Right.
I feel like I'm learning how to do it for the first time, but like I definitely, like sometimes I'll get a crush and like if it doesn't work out, it's like, it feels like the end of the world. And I'm like, is this what it's like to like get your heart broken in high school? Like, I don't know.
I get that. Do you find that like on social media, because you are putting yourself out there in some way, people come with predispositions about you and like who you are? Like, how do you handle that?
I think it's easy. Like, if you put yourself and your life on the internet, people will perceive you, and you just it comes with the job, I think. But I'm just careful about like people's intentions, I think, and I talk about it in therapy sometimes. But I don't want someone to, not to say that I'm anything special at all, but I don't want someone to just be interested in me because they see my videos on the internet, because that's such a small part of my life. It feels like a lot of my life, but me sharing my outfit for the day takes me like 20 minutes of my day. Like
Yeah.
there's so much more to me
not
than that.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to know more about us, we do podcasts every week. You can find us if you subscribe to our channel. We have episodes featuring our story and other episodes of other stories and counselors and different people like that digging into this whole process of coming out. We also want to say we have a Discord where we chat with people kind of in the same boat as us. It's free. We'd love for you to jump on there and chat with us. If you have any questions, we jump on there and answer those whenever we can.
For anyone that's new here, if you are enjoying this episode and would like to connect a little bit more with us, we do have monthly Patreon Zoom calls. So if you would like to chat with us, get to know some of the community, please join there. If you are supporting the Patreon and are a subscriber and have been listening, thank you so much. Your support goes a really long way. This podcast is self-funded, so anything that you do give, it really does help a lot. And we hope you enjoy the rest of this episode.
I'm happy because I am accepting of all people, and I'm definitely like a more the merrier kind of person, and like I don't exclude anyone from anything. My life is an open door. I want my home to be the same way. My parents' next door neighbors back in Missouri, they are my adopted like godparents. They're wonderful. I came out to them like a year before I even told my parents.
Wow.
They've always been there for me, but they are very much the definition of love and acceptance. Even like if there were times in their life where they didn't understand a certain person, like they are so open-minded about like learning like about that person and finding out like what they need. They're like the most welcoming people. When I go back to Missouri, I can just walk in their door without knocking. And I try to bring that energy wherever I go, because not everyone has like a support system or loved one.
Well, like you literally exude that not only in your
Thank
home,
you.
but online. Like your cute wave at the beginning of your videos. If you guys haven't seen them, it's like I just feel like at home, like you're like Mr. Rogers.
Oh, thank you. That's the best compliment ever. No, I love that. Like, I think, like, I just want my life to be a testament of the fact that you can have like a story similar to mine and land on your feet.
Wow.
It's so murky. Like those years where you just don't know what to do next, or you don't have any support system. Like those years for me, I would look to people online. And it's funny now that I live here in New York that like some of these people are like my friends now. Like I've like loved them online and now we're friends. But like for me, for years, all I had was just like looking at people who I saw on the internet who were like out and proud and happy, and just like holding that as like something. And so if I could be that for someone, that's like, it makes it all worth it. And like if a life is saved, then that's even better. Even just one life is worth living. And I've definitely found that out like through a weird path, but it is worth living and you can be happy.
No, I think your life story is a great testament of that. Because you were in the Midwest. You were in a place where there's no one around you to support you. It feels like there's no escape. It feels like you have no idea what to do with your sexuality, all this stuff. Like if people knew about this, what would happen? Especially when you're young, you're a teenager, you can't even imagine what's on the other side. And now here you are in New York, living a life you love. Not very long after, it felt like there was no escape.
Yeah.
And it's such a testament to the hope that can be found and what life can be.
Yeah.
I love your story.
Yeah, and I thank you. And I value, I think, the situation so much more because I like lived so long thinking that it wasn't possible. Like it wasn't like in the cards for me. I had convinced myself for like 23 years that I wasn't deserving of love, like that I wasn't ever going to have someone, and like that is so dark. Like that. And, but people are there today, and I hate that. A lot of times too, like the friends I would tell, like or people I would see online, like who maybe had a rough time coming out to their family, they would always be like give them time, they'll come around. And like that's good advice, but for some people that's so hard to see. And for me, like I should have prefaced that like my family is extremely religious, and like it's nothing against them, but like my entire world was like a pastor's family, and that was really challenging.
Well, I think as someone that's in the pastoral family culture, it's not just a small piece of your life. Religion is the cornerstone of your life.
Yeah.
You rejecting that in their words by coming out does mean you're angering maybe everyone in your family. You're losing something that was essential to your whole life and culture.
Yes.
That's not easy. That's why it's so scary.
Yeah. Or it's just like you're so easily demonized because it's like you come out and then it's like you're the villain all of a sudden. I'm like, I'm literally the same person I've always been. I'm just happier. And also like I get so sick of the like I'm praying for you texts from like family members who like Google me and like watch my TikTok through Google, and I can't block any of them because they like Google search it. But like, and I put everything out there. I like understand that like I'm very open about myself now, but like I get so sick of that like condescending, like I'm praying for you, like thinking of you, praying for you. Like, no thanks.
What does that do to you when you get that text?
I just like I was talking about earlier, through therapy, you have the power to like participate in the conversations you want and the ones you don't. And I'm not going to even try to convince people and like to believe another way, especially when they're so like staunchly one way. So I usually politely don't respond.
Yeah, for them to see you like even as a teenager, if they were perceptive, they know that you weren't super happy.
Yeah.
And now to look at you online and your life is very public, there's obviously a lightness and happiness to you. Yeah. And for them to be like, I wish you were back there.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying in that text.
I know.
I'm praying for you to be back there.
It's exactly what it is. I've made my peace with it. Honestly, therapy is wonderful. Like I took forever to start it. So I was like, I feel like I do a good job of like processing things, but it's nice to just have someone who like understands. I try to give myself a lot of grace. Like I'm not perfect. I'll make mistakes all the time. I think you have to do that with other people too. I'm definitely not going to mimic the hate that I've felt by giving it back. Everyone's always welcome in my life. They just have to choose to like be a part of it and not try to like convince me to live another way. But
that's one thing that I am so frustrated by when you come out to someone is, like you said, you're so much more than just being gay, right? But some people just, that's what they put you as. It's just gay, and suddenly you've lost your creativity, your kindness.
You just are demonized. I know. Or like, or just they think that you like, it's just like an automatic like, oh, you're a sinner, you don't believe in anything, like you need to go to church. And I'm like, that's not the case for everybody. There's plenty of people who come out to their family and like their religion is a very big part of their life, and that's to be celebrated. Like it shouldn't be like that. Like that's crazy.
Should
like
be one or the other.
Like like you can have it all, and I think that drives me nuts sometimes because I just don't know where like the I'm praying for you text, like that as one example, like why do you think that I don't pray? Like what is it about you that thinks that I'm not living right by your terms? Like I haven't talked to you in years, but like you're judging me from afar and perceiving how you think I'm living, and you think that I need help, and that's like what I just really don't like, because I'm like, you don't know anything about me.
How about hey, how are you?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, how are you? Maybe a phone call. I don't know. I choose not to participate.
What did you need when you came out?
What did I need? A support system and a community. And for me, that was hand in hand. It was my gay friend group in Kansas City. Like, I'll give one example. My friend Breck does like a high heel happy hour every year for his birthday at his house in Kansas. And it's so funny because the first year that I got invited, I was like, I don't know, like that's like really gay. Like I'm like we're pre-K, kindergarten. Like I'm just getting in. And so I think I wore like cowboy boots because I was like, that has like a little bit of it. I was like trying, you gotta ease in. And then the next year, like we had like he did it again, and I think I borrowed a pair of like kitten heels from like my friend Ty, and then. Like it sounds so crazy, but then like the next year we were like in Mexico, like at High Heel Happy Hour for Breck's birthday, and it was just like I like full sent it and like took my wig from my Halloween costume, and it was just like I had so much more fun when I leaned in. So like it's just like funny to see how it's evolved, and like all of those friends being there from like the cowboy boot phase where I was brand new to like the Puerto Vallarta heeled party. Like it's just cool that it like they've been there and haven't judged me one bit of the way, and that was so good because for a lot of people, I think when you first come out, you may not have even like family, or I definitely lost friends. I don't want to breeze over this whole story like it was easy, because it wasn't, but I had to cut people out. I had a really good friend who sat me down for coffee at Messenger one day in Kansas City, and she basically said that like basically where I'm at with everything with my faith, and knowing what the Bible says about like gay marriage, and I just like had to end that friendship like pretty much right there. So I think you will at times lose people, but having that good steady support system and friend group, even if it's one or two, like someone you can call. Like the day I came out to my family, I like all my gays took me. We went to have margaritas. We like went, and it was so sweet. Like they like all like got off work and we all met at a restaurant, had dinner, and just like I got me laughing, got me like feeling good, and then just like that's what I needed.
Yeah.
I needed that like love. That is true love.
And that speaks to you as a friend, because I'm sure that you've shown up for them in ways where they would say, like, Jonathan took me out for margaritas or mimosas or whatever.
Always down for a margarita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to believe that someone will want you to go back to
I know.
yourself.
I know.
That'll never not
I
let
know.
me.
There was like a time where like people in my family wanted me to like move back to Springfield and move in with family and like get back in the church and that I had grown up in, and I just like can't imagine if I had gone down that path. But it's just so cool. Like really, like my life took off when I finally like fully accepted myself and like came out. It's so cool to look back, and like I think the success I've had with social media, everything good that has happened to me, all of that started when I like was honest with myself. If you think about it, like I started coming out to my close friends and like started like when I moved to Kansas City, and I started making content about 6 months later. So even while I wasn't publicly out on social media, I was still out to like my close friends and like new people I would meet in Kansas City, and that is where I like found my true happiness. And like now I get to do all these cool things for work, and like all of this is because like of social media, and I get to travel and go on these cool trips and like meet all these cool people. And it really, I don't think would have ever happened if I hadn't accepted myself and like come out to myself and like embraced happiness. And it's just cool to see how like being truthful and honest and loving of yourself can pay off, and it will.
Yeah.
I didn't need approval. Like I didn't want anyone's approval.
What would you say to someone who they're kind of sitting in the closet right now and they're just like, I don't even know who I am at this point because the life that I have built is not true or aligned to who I am, and if I'm honest with this part, everything comes crumbling down. I can't even like see myself clearly.
I know. It's like the mental switch of like not your life not crumbling all the way down, but your life taking flight. Like I felt that way for a while, because it's like if I come out I lose everything. Or like I know there's like for some people there's like the financial aspect. If I lived at home in college, I was like I can't come out because I don't have anywhere to live. Or like it's easy to like go to the worst case scenario in your head. But I think you have to give people like the benefit of the doubt. First of all, they may not react how you think, especially as the years go by and people become more accepting. But your life won't come crumbling down. You might lose things. You might lose people. You might lose things you didn't expect to lose. But that's the beginning of like the new chapter, or even in some cases the new book. And for me, looking back, my life really just started in 2021. I don't really know who I was before that. I see like photos or like hear stories of things that I did back then. It's unrecognizable. So to be the contrast is so crazy. So it was so worth the turmoil that I had to go through to get to a place where I am now. And people stick around. Like the people who are truly loving, the people that are worth having in your life, those people will stick around. If there's no one, then you find them. Like you just have to, and that can be sometimes the most challenging part. But that, especially moving to a new city like New York, like I did, I didn't really have any friends here before I moved here. No one close, but you just have to make the effort to leave your apartment and go out in the city. And I've made friends just sitting in a bar, like, or just going to a restaurant, or like friends of friends. Like you can and will find your community. It's just a matter of you're not going to find them while you're still surrounding yourself by these people who aren't for you.
Yeah, no, that's so well said. I think it's almost like when people only know half of you and you're still so desperate to keep those relationships, like remind yourself, like if they only know half of you, like imagine how much they'll love you if you show all of you. And if anyone doesn't love all of you, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like it sounds so scary when you're in that, and I would never want to like lower that pain and that fear, but imagine having acceptance for the whole
of you, like what that feels like, because that was so much more powerful than any friendship I'd had before, when friends saw all of me and accepted all of it.
Yeah.
And it does tie into the rest of my life. It's not just the gay side. It's like, I'm not, you hide other pieces of yourself when you hide the gay side. I am now fully showing everything of myself, you know,
Yes.
you know, decency,
Yeah.
decency. And people accept that. And I can't express how that feels to my spirit. It's crazy. This is a beautiful life. And I don't think I would have ever realized that if I never came out. I didn't realize how beautiful life could be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I think that can at times be the most hurtful thing about your family or friends not reacting as you would hope, because they're missing out on so much. And I think back to like family members maybe who I was at one time close to, and like even if they were just seeing or knowing half of me, that we were still like fine then. Like there's so much of me that I think the essence of me and like what makes me me is all these things that they don't even know. And so it's, which was even prevalent a little bit, I think, when I, like before I'd come out. But like I remember too, like family members thinking that I was so shy because I like wouldn't talk much at like family gatherings, and it's like I'm very extroverted actually. Like I love to talk, I love to laugh, I love to joke, but like I was like never empowered to talk in those settings, you know, or like really have relationships, because it just felt like fake.
Totally. And the self-hatred too. Like you don't feel like people want to hear from you. You feel like there's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
I'm literally going through this with my therapist right now. Like, I feel like I've lost my voice in some way. Like, and I'm just starting to get it back. But even little things like I sometimes will hold my lip in, and like as a physical manifestation of holding my voice in. And you start noticing those little things about you, and you're like, oh my god, I have to like unlearn so much of the way that I grew up.
I agree completely. It was always the exact same for me. Like I just would clam up in like those situations because I didn't feel like I could authentically be myself.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that so many people are going to benefit from it. And thanks for inviting us.
Of
course. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming to my house. Yeah, of course.
We love New York.
Happy to be here.